Send your wives to Target. Send your kids outside.
It's garage time. Another episode coming up here, and obviously we still have March Madness going on. And my bracket is shot.
Yeah, mine's not doing so hot. I was doing great until last night when Alabama lost to Duke.
So obviously I had Mizzou and Tennessee in the championship game. Tennessee lost earlier today, so I'm done. I don't even know if I have anybody. I don't have anybody in the Final Four. So
I still have a couple. If Michigan State wins, and right now they're currently losing, I would have Michigan State, Florida, and Houston. I had Houston over Tennessee.
Okay.
But without the championship winner.
Right.
And honestly, I was really excited about these rounds of March Madness that just finished, like the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, the Final Four. I was like, these are going to be powerhouses slugging it out. But as of right now, 3 of the Final Four are number 1 seeds, and it looks like Auburn is beating Michigan State. We're going to have 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four.
Yeah, to me, that is the most boring bracket you could have.
Yeah, I don't like it. Nobody wants to see, unless you're a fan of the team, nobody wants to see the number 1 seed just dominate.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Right, exactly.
The whole thing March Madness has, which college football has tried to replicate, is that Cinderella story where the underdog gets through.
Right.
And this year that didn't happen.
No,
Everybody's
I don't
bracket's busted, but the brackets that are doing well, no offense to anybody out there, the brackets that are doing well, I don't feel like a lot of thought went into.
No.
Because traditionally, if you fill out a bracket and you pick the top teams to do well, you're done.
Right.
You know, and this year it's just like, well, you picked the favorite, good for you.
Yeah, you picked the favorite, and the favorite doing all right. So,
yeah,
I agree with that. Not a very fun March Madness, in my opinion. There's been some good games, but I'll be honest, when it's over, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I'm over it now.
Yeah.
When Arkansas went out, when Alabama went out, Michigan State's getting ready to go out, I'm done.
Yeah, I think I'd have been more intrigued if St. John was still in there, Tennessee, a 2 seed, something like that. But when you get 4-1s, I'm checked out.
Yeah. Not interested.
So in other news, Devin got out of the house this week. I went to Champaign for a coaching clinic for football, and it was a blast.
Really? That was a lot of
fun. Obviously, one of the big keynote speakers we got was Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens, and that dude is electric.
Really?
He had me ready to run through a brick wall. And he wasn't even, he was just talking about his journey, what stories he had that went with each team that he's been with, the coaches that he's been under. He'd been under Kirby Smart, Les Miles.
Wow.
He's been under John Harbaugh, obviously, at Baltimore. And the dude has a lot of knowledge.
That's awesome.
I have a feeling this guy will be a head coach in the NFL. He makes it sound like players want to play for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Do you feel like you picked up a lot just from listening to him?
I did, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think a lot of it applies to us.
Oh, really?
We're so small.
Right. That makes sense.
We have 17 kids on the roster. He's talking about, the NFL and, Division I college.
Right.
So not really the same stuff, but obviously coaching is coaching. So you can pick up all that anyway. And I actually got to talk to another guy. His name was Greg McMahon. And he was in the NFL with the Saints. And he brought up guys like Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, Von Bell, Roman Harper. I'm like, gee Louise, this guy got some...
Yeah, you start name dropping.
Yeah,
the resume looks
holy
pretty good.
Cow. And I was like, and he had basically, I'm a special teams coordinator for our team. And this guy was saying, special teams are part of football. Don't let them be less.
Yeah.
There's 3 phases in football: offense, defense, and special teams. And he was hitting on that, basically saying everybody in this room's here because they're part of the special teams. Don't let that be forgotten. All your players are trying hard on special teams too. They deserve the same energy. I'm like, man, I like that.
I do like that, and I think that's something that's honestly lost a lot in today's NFL.
Oh, 100%.
With the kickoff rule changes and the risks of a concussion and things, which are real, I get it, but they've minimized the special team aspect.
Yes.
We don't have a Devin Hester or a Randall L or somebody that's changing the game anymore because the rules have made it impossible.
They have. They really have. The thought of having a Devin Hester ever again in the NFL is probably not going to happen.
Right.
The kickoff just changed so dynamically that
you don't get that many options to return a kick.
Right. You know, most guys are booting it through the end zone. So,
Yeah.
you know, I would like to see where they, you know, have to keep it in or it's a penalty. You know, like
That
if you
makes
just
sense.
boot out of the back of the end zone, we'll give 2 on 35 then.
Yeah.
Like 10-yard penalty. You know, but you're going out of the house this weekend.
Yeah, so this drops on Wednesday. I'll be out of the house this coming weekend. Not going to say where I'm going, but really excited for it. Looking to bring some information to the next podcast with that, and we're going to Chicago. I'll say that much, and hopefully not having a whole bunch of rain. Got some big plans, and looking forward to that.
That'd be good. I think, and this is an anniversary trip, right?
Yeah, so it's my wife and I's 10-year anniversary on April 3rd. I'm just kidding. It's April 4th. I didn't forget. I want to make sure she's paying attention.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's our 10-year anniversary on Friday. We actually never took a honeymoon. When my wife and I got married, she was pregnant, so I always said for our 10-year anniversary we would do something special. It's supposed to be a beach, but finance and everything else wise, having 4 kids, it's easier for us to get to Chicago.
Yeah.
So
I totally understand that. So can't wait to hear about some good stories. Hope you guys have a good trip, and hope it's a good honeymoon phase for you for the weekend. That always helps out. Even though it's been 10 years, you can still try to rekindle something. So that'd be good.
I was going to give her the option of whether or not she wanted to, exercise the return policy or if she wanted to sign up for another 10 years. But I'm kind of afraid of her answer, so I think I'll just leave that out.
Well, you get up there, and then that's when the return policy kicks in.
Yeah.
She sends you back home to hang out with the kids, and she does whatever
She's
she
up
wants to
there.
do.
Yeah, I see her on the next Cubs broadcast in the dugout or something. Like,
Right, yeah.
I can't even be mad.
All right, well, let's keep this train rolling on to some unsolicited advice. And as everybody knows, at least in the Midwest this week, we've had some higher 70-degree temperatures.
It's been awesome.
It's been some good weather. Obviously, it's been windy every freaking day of our life, but, hold on to your hat and buckle down because it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But spring cleaning your yard.
Now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, the grass isn't growing yet. I've seen some green grass. It seems like it's getting a little bit taller. Maybe that's just, the dad in me ready to lace up my New Balances and hit the yard. But
Yeah, I remember,
would do it
the
now.
last weekend that you raked up your yard and how hauled off
God.
what was it, 18 bags of leaves?
Yeah, it was a ridiculous amount of leaves because we have a ton of trees in our yard, pine trees and otherwise, and it was like a full weekend of work.
Yeah.
It was awful.
So you always hear that thing like people say, don't bag up the leaves, just burn them and let them degrade.
Yeah.
So what's your thought process on that? Why'd you bag them all up? What's the thought process?
So for one, I made the mistake of not doing it in the fall. So the kids were playing in the leaves. I had raked all the leaves into big piles in the yard so they could play in the leaves.
Right.
So now it's springtime and they're wet. So they're not going to burn because they're wet. But the other thing is it's been so damn windy that it's like, I start the leaves and I catch the neighbor's house on fire and I'm on the next episode of What Were They Thinking?
Right,
You know?
yeah.
So it was a lot of work to bag them up, and anybody in this area knows that our yard waste facility is not open very often.
Right.
So now I went from leaves in my yard to bags of leaves in my yard, but I didn't think burning was a good option for me.
No, I agree. I don't really ever burn leaves. I actually have an empty lot right across the alley, and I just
Blow them over there.
blow them over there, and then the wind takes them the rest of the way. I cut down 2 trees when I bought the house 2-3 years ago. One of them was an apple tree, so one thing I hated about that was all the apples on the ground.
Oh yeah, that would be a pain. You hit them with the mower and it's
Yeah, well, and they're mush,
Yeah.
like they're turning mush, so it's like just sloppy stuff. And I had so many people when I was getting ready to cut that tree down, like, oh, you should leave it. Like, I'll leave it if you guys pick up the ground.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to mow over it, I don't want to deal with it, I don't want to rake it. And
You probably get a lot of bugs too, right? With it turning to mush.
I only had it for 3 or 4 months that I was here before I cut it down, so I couldn't tell you.
Oh, okay.
That was one of the first things I did. Basically, because I was building this garage, I wanted more of a backyard,
That makes sense.
So, and one of them was sitting like right in the corner where the garage was and the apple tree out back, but it's like, I just can't get him out of here, open up my yard a little bit so I can get a trampoline and stuff in. But, a lot of things I think with spring training also, like if you're going to put in like the new mulch or rock or anything, you should probably do it now as well,
Right.
because that's just heavy, and if you like drive through your yard, well, you might rut it up a little bit, but at least you got time to get things fixed before summer hits and you're just mowing, every other 6 days or whatever it is.
Well, and the other thing, for both of us, and again, I feel like we say this a lot, but we're both coaching baseball,
Right, yep.
softball for myself too, and we get really busy here soon.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So doing
Yeah.
the spring cleaning, like this is your window. This is
Right.
when you need to get that stuff done. And a lot of people plant flowers, do some landscaping, stuff like that. And I feel like now is the time to do that before everything starts growing, before everything starts blooming,
Right.
and the weather's tolerable. It's nice out,
I would have to agree, my family does a lot of flowers, I think, around Mother's Day. I think that's
Yeah.
when they tend to do it. So that's 6 weeks out. But obviously, if you start it now, then maybe you get a head start, and hopefully it doesn't freeze under new flowers.
Well, hopefully not. I mean, hopefully we're past that. But there's still the chance of that freeze coming through. So.
When you talked about getting busy with baseball season, we have our first track meet next week.
Oh, really?
So now I'm coaching baseball that my kid plays on, but he's going to miss some of it due to track, which is fine. That's how things work when you get in that overlap of stuff.
Right.
But it's like, man, like, here I was thinking I had like another 3 or 4 weeks to do things. I got some things I want to do in the garage and, all that. And I'm like, uh-oh. Well, I didn't get that accomplished, so.
Yeah, when you have the multi-sport athletes as kids, you don't get a whole lot of downtime.
No.
It's one to the other.
Yeah. So obviously today is March 30th, right?
Yep.
So Tuesday would be.
April Fool's Day.
So we had talked a little bit about talking about this segment, and I think it's a good thing to do. Like, what is and what is not a good April Fool's joke?
Yeah. So I thought about this a lot, and I think I came up with some pretty good things that are like, don't do this on April Fool's Day.
Right.
And the number one, everybody talks about it. It's not new. Don't make a joke about being pregnant on
No.
April Fool's Day. And we've all seen it. I think you have some experience with that.
We have done it, and we did it. Well, my wife made the post. I had nothing to do with it. She went out and made it, and there were so many people that jumped us like, what about the infertility and blah 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 blah. And I'm gonna tell you what, we had to deal with infertility.
Yeah.
And now I understand more than I did at that time. Like, oh wow, like I see what they're talking about.
And you
And,
know,
all the people that have gone through miscarriage, like,
right.
like, man, we were mean. Like,
And you don't think about it when you post it.
No.
You weren't doing it with like malicious intent or trying to
Well,
be an
yeah,
asshole.
right.
But, now I think there's enough knowledge out there for everybody. Like, this just isn't a good April Fool's joke.
right.
And kind of along that same thing of relationships, don't fake a breakup for April Fool's
No.
Day.
Or an engagement.
Or an engagement.
Yeah, or marriage or any of that. No, I'm with you. Like, faking that relationship for an April Fool joke, man, that's a lot of, just a lot of unnecessary attention.
Well, and it could backfire. Like, what if you go to make a joke with your wife or your girlfriend and you're like, hey, I think we should break up. I think we should get a divorce. And it's a joke to you. But she responds, I've been thinking the same thing. Like, oops.
I was joking. Oh, I wasn't.
April Fools.
No, that would be that would be terrible.
Yeah. So,
Honey. Yeah. Oh, type of bags? Okay. Like that's dramatic change of events right there.
yeah, I mean, nobody's laughing there.
Yeah.
No 911 calls for
Oh,
April Fools.
100%. Yeah, you can't do that.
Come on, that's crazy. That's way overboard.
Yeah.
There's emergency personnel. There's people that man those phones that have better things to do than deal with your dumbass.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely, if it's something like, I'm gonna prank call 911 for an April Fool's joke. Like, why? Why are we doing this? Like,
Yeah.
if that was to happen around here and I find out somebody's grandma died because they were too busy dealing with it, I'd be pissed.
Oh yeah,
Like,
and that's like, I mean, that's even lower than like some of the Jake Paul shit.
going down. So, you're bringing up Jake Paul. My wife asked me a couple hours ago, she's like, are you going to watch their TV show?
Oh, Paul
No.
American.
I was like, no, absolutely not.
No.
Like,
There's a list of brothers that I would be interested in. The Kelseys obviously are great. The Watt brothers, if they ever did something,
Yeah.
that'd be cool. The Pauls,
yeah, so far down on my list.
yeah, I don't give a shit,
Yeah.
honestly.
Couldn't care less. Basically, do dumb shit, say stupid stuff, and get paid millions to be dumb.
Yeah.
Like,
Goals. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe that's what we need to do.
Yeah, maybe we just
I'm
need to
tired
do
of
something.
working every day.
Right.
Oh, no, I agree. April Fool's jokes. I mean, so what is a good April Fool's joke?
A good April Fool's joke. Oh man. So it can't be anything that causes permanent damage, right? So
Okay.
like no shaving anybody's head, no.
Well, hair grows back.
Well, that's true. I mean, I'll be honest. Like little things are good for April
Yeah,
Fool's
like
joke.
the what do they call it? White lie kind of stuff.
Right.
White jokes, whatever you call it.
Right. Something that's not going to dramatically change somebody's day,
Yeah.
or worse. Have you had any good April Fool's jokes?
I haven't. I usually don't do anything for it.
Yeah.
I mess with my boss every day, so it's gonna be like I'll go and turn his keyboard around and flip his mouse pad over and dump all his pins out on his desk, stuff like that. I do that all the time. So to me, that would be good stuff to do on April Fools if you don't already. You're just messing with them.
Right,
Not really
just-
a joke, but it's funny,
Right. Just that little thing. Like, so one of the MAs that I work with at work, she has a calendar, and every day that she comes to work, she marks off the calendar in like this way line, like slash.
Oh, okay.
So that would be one of those things where I come in and I write slash this way,
The other
just
way.
to screw up the OCD side of things.
Yeah. Or like if, like let's say she's texting, she's like, "Hey, gonna be late to the office. Well, you have to buy donuts."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then even if she does, it works out for everybody.
That's a win-win,
Yeah.
Like, oh wait, but that was April Fool's joke, but thank you as you're eating your donut,
And that's the thing you have to be careful of too. Like if you're going to play April Fool's jokes at work, which I imagine most people will if you do it
Well,
because it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with some of those lines too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
one of the things we were talking about, don't do an April Fool's joke where you pretend to quit your job.
Right.
Like I quit, and then before you can say April Fool's, you're escorted out of the building.
Oh wait, we already had somebody hired to replace you. Wait, what?
Huh? Yeah.
I think obviously if you have a good like office environment, that's the time to do it. You do like a like you send out a group chat to everybody in the office. Hey, we're wearing green ties today,
Right.
and they're the only one that shows up in a green tie. It's like, oh, now that's an April Fool's joke to me.
Right.
Something silly that meaningless harm
Yeah.
gets everybody a good laugh.
Right. Just something that, like you said, doesn't cause any harm, doesn't dramatically change somebody's day. Like, how pissed would your wife be if she walks out of the house and you took one of her tires off? Like, shit.
She'd be pissed.
Right.
Okay,
And-
come put it back on so I go to work.
but hilarious, but probably not a good
Yeah.
joke.
Actually, she'd probably be like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, come give me your truck.
Yeah.
You can put my tire on and come get the truck later.
Right.
So then I'd be stuck in her Jeep all day instead of my truck for work, which I kind of need. So, no, I think it'd be a good joke. It'd be better if it was a weekend,
Right. Exactly.
Something
where it's not going to change anything.
Yeah, because I'm usually at work before her, so that would probably really, really screw up her morning routine.
Yeah.
She'd probably hate me.
But it'd be funny.
Would you be here to take it off with me?
Sure. Yeah. We can go live. Becca's reaction live.
I wanted to throw this segment in there because it leads up to the one thing I like to talk about is everybody has seasonal depression.
Yeah.
And I really feel like April 1st, April Fools, that's kind of when everybody starts snapping out of it. The weather starts consistently getting better.
Mm-hmm.
It's daylight longer. I mean, I think it starts getting dark at like 7:30, 7:45 next week.
Yeah. It's
I
much
mean-
later than it was.
In the Midwest, that's amazing because you're like, oh man, I need to have a bonfire and do some s'mores.
Right.
But it's still April 1st.
Yeah, as soon as the snow melts, we're trying to have a bonfire.
So, end of the seasonal depression, I think, like, if you're stuck in a funk and just know the end is near for the spring and the summer, like, just hold on, do whatever you got to do to get out of it. Maybe doing a light April Fool's joke with somebody in your household or work would help out.
Yeah, I mean, anything to just raise morale a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think, with the weather changing, obviously, but I think a lot of hobbies and stuff that people do tend to happen at this time of year, too.
Right.
Like winter, we just sit inside and we binge watch TV.
Right.
It's not good for your mental health.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think the other side of this, obviously, I've seen a lot of it recently on Facebook, and I think it's just worth mentioning. If these seasons change, your hobbies pick up, the weather's better, and you don't feel like your mood and things are changing, I mean, talk to somebody. You
Right.
know, reach out, get the help you need, because it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
But for most of us, just this weather change helps a lot of this seasonal
does.
depression and attitudes.
No, and so we held our first couple of practices last week for baseball, and you could see like some of the parents were excited.
Mm-hmm.
They dropped their kid off, and then they would walk around the park on the road
Yeah.
while they're practicing. It's just like you can just see, finally, I'm outside again, and they're excited. Obviously, they're ready to sit out in the sun and sit in their chairs and cheer on their kid, but that's still a little ways away. But like you said, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said that way better than I did. But
It took me a second.
but no, it's like if you do have something, talk to somebody. Like, get out and walk the dog together.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not the dog because they're annoying to walk. At
Not-
least mine is.
Not through the baseball diamond, thank you.
Yeah, mine likes to wrap her legs around wrap the chain around the leg and everything. But like the whole seasonal depression. The only reason I'm bringing this up is I had 2 people last week that were like sending me a Snapchat. I'm like, oh, you gotta get out of this. I'm like, I didn't feel you. Like I was in it for a while, but I always ask them a leading question like, well, what are you doing? Like,
Right.
are you over caffeinating still? Like it's getting. I mean, last week. 7:15, 7:30, I was still out in the ball diamond, so you could have been outside doing something after work. You might have had to be in jeans and a t-shirt, but you could have been doing something.
Something. And I think the activity helps. And like,
Oh, 100% does.
I don't know, I'm sure you felt the same way, but I haven't had an official practice yet for my baseball or softball team, but I took my kids out and did some batting practice,
Right.
had them catch some pop flies, shag some ground balls and stuff. And I'm like, just my shoes on the baseball diamond, looking around, seeing the fence, seeing the scoreboard, I'm like, man, this is great.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad to be here again.
Right.
So-
Really, yeah. And you were out there for what, 45 minutes maybe?
Yeah, something
And
like
just
that.
lifted the spirit.
Oh, yeah.
For
Yeah.
you, for the kids, that's kind of the stuff we need to do. And it doesn't have to be baseball. Like, obviously I got a 3-year-old. We go out on the trampoline, and it was only 15 minutes tops, and he was excited. I had a little bit of fun. It's just simple stuff to get outside, get out of the house, and be active.
Yeah, we went out last night, and I got home kind of late from work. It started to get dark, and the boys went out on the trampoline. It was still fairly warm, and we got their glow-in-the-dark football.
Oh, okay.
And I just started bombing into the trampoline. So they're like jumping in the air trying to catch this glow-in-the-dark football in the dark, and they had a lot of fun with it.
But
Before it got cold and we had to go inside.
yeah,
But there's opportunity
Yeah.
to do something.
so make the most of it. Snap out of that funk. Do whatever it is. Take a lap and walk. I think you've done that a couple of times.
I've done that a lot on my lunch break.
Yeah,
recently.
your lunch break. Get out there and just walk around your campus or a block or whatever you can do at work. And there was a couple of days I was on a roof right next to your house.
Yeah.
That was fun. I got called to do a roof estimate, and you guys pulled up in the driveway, and that kind of lifted my spirit a little bit. It was fun. I don't get to see friends from a roof every day. So
Yeah, the kids like that, and put your AirPods in, go on a walk, listen to Garage Time. Time
Perfect.
will go away before you know it.
Yeah, exactly. So let's keep this ball rolling and go into our sports segment. And as you know,
Oh yeah,
go Cubs, go!
I'm liking what I see so far.
Oh man, and I'll be honest with you, we talked about this already. I'm hot on Matt Shaw. I think he's
Yes.
going to be great, and he hits his first home run last night.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Uh,
I wish I'd been watching that game. I chose to watch Duke, Alabama instead. I should have watched the Cubs.
Had I had a dog in the fight with the tournament, I'd have been watching that. But I was like, Matt Shaw's playing. I'm ready to see what it's going to bring. And obviously, I chose in my mind, I chose the right thing.
Yeah, I think you did.
I got to see it. Obviously, the Cubs won. I was watching the game before we came out here to do the podcast, and Suzuki just hit a home run to hit it. I think
Oh,
put
did
us
he?
up 3-1 or 3-0, one or two.
I hadn't seen that yet.
Yep.
And I mean, we've got the young talent. I saw the other day that out of like the top 100 MLB prospects, the Cubs have like 7 of them.
7,
which
yes.
is tied for top in the league. Matt Shaw's good. Gage Workman's got some work coming up. Dansby is in prime form to start the season.
Yep.
I mean, they're like 15% of the Cubs infield is Silt, and the other 85% is Dansby Swanson.
Yep.
Like he's just incredible right now.
Yep.
And he hit a home run today.
Yep, he did. He hit the Leadoff home run, I think it was in the second inning to get us going. And, another one we need to talk about is PCA.
I love PCA.
I mean, he had a great play from center field to third base last night, threw a kid out. So, obviously, that's coming around. Dansby with the amazing play to save the game last night.
That Superman dive.
Yeah, Superman dived for a tag. And as I was watching the game today, they were talking about Justin Turner.
Yeah.
He's 40 years old, but the dude's been around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been in one World Series with the Dodgers, and they said the relationship that he has with PCA is what is bringing PCA up so fast.
Really?
I was kind of intrigued to hear that. And what they were talking about was so obviously he's fast. PCA's fast.
Oh, yeah.
And he went to steal 60 bases. Well, Turner said, well, you're going to have to do that by giving walks.
Oh, yeah.
You can't do it off the hits all the time. I'm like, oh, man, so my mind thinking, as a coach, why can't you do it off the hits? Well, if you get a hit, they're already looking for you. But if you get a walk, the pitcher may not be so focused on you.
That's true.
It's I just walked you. Plus, you have the energy to do it.
That's true.
No.
Well, and arguably, the easiest base to steal is second base.
It is. Yeah.
So when you're PCA and he's fast, and there's a ton of highlights that show how fast he is, a lot of times he will turn a single into a double just because of his speed.
Exactly.
So all of a sudden your chance to steal second base is gone.
Right.
So that makes a lot of sense. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
And
so on this current roster, who's your favorite Cub?
And I'm glad you asked this because coming off of 2016, I felt like I was having troubles finding that player that I loved. Right?
Same.
Bellinger, I liked him a lot.
Yeah.
Hate to see him go, but that's fine. I really like Bush.
Michael Bush, okay.
I really like Michael Bush. I think that he had a phenomenal season last year.
Yeah.
I think he's filling a gap at first base that we've had since Rizzo left, if I'm being honest. There's still some errors. Dansby, in my opinion, saved the game the other night, too, when Bush kind of overthrew the throw to second. Dansby caught it off base, fired it down for the double play in a close game. I like Bush, but I don't know that enough gets said about Ian Happ either.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just solid player.
He is all around, probably one of the best players on our team, all around.
Yeah, I mean, good. He's a Golden Glove.
Yep.
He's hitting home runs when you need him.
Getting on base.
Yep. I mean, it always seems like fairly team-oriented, good mood. I mean, he's a great guy, too.
So I'm in the same boat. Obviously, I think anybody that was part of the Cubs prior to 2016, if you're a Cubs fan, it was Anthony Rizzo. That was your favorite player. Rizzo was your favorite player.
Right.
And when he left and when they shook up, they sent Baez, they sent Bryant, and it was like, man, who do I like on this? We have some guys come up, I'm going to like this guy, and then they get rid of him. And honestly, for me, it's probably Christopher Morel. Really liked him, really liked the way he was doing. But I have been hot on Matt Shaw, so I think I'm going to have to, that might be not in favor, and I haven't bought a jersey since the Rizzo and Haywood days.
Well, the problem is lately, every time I bought a jersey, it's like a curse. Because I had a Rizzo jersey, he's gone. I bought a Bellinger jersey last year, he's gone.
Yep.
But yeah, I think they're fun to watch again, honestly. And I'm excited about the young talent. I think we've got the right pieces. Obviously, Kyle Tucker is just a rental.
But
Added something to the team this year.
Yep.
We've got experience to help them out. The bullpen still
might be.
needs some work.
No, I think a lot of it is we do have bullpen help in the minors.
Right.
So right now, let's let those guys develop for 3 or 4 months and then pull them up at the All-Star break.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking. If we're playing competitive baseball, if not, let them develop. I would like to think we can go 500, maybe make a push for the division late in the year. Definitely get the first wild card game.
Let's do this. So, favorite player we already talked about. Since the 2016 roster, least favorite Cub.
Ooh, least favorite Cub.
I can start if you need some time to think.
You go ahead. I don't have one on top of my head.
So for a while, and this is an unpopular opinion, El Mago, Javier Baez, dude, the most frustrating player in baseball.
Definitely frustrating, yeah.
He had all these highlight plays where they were like, oh, he does it again, El Mago, look at this magic he's doing. And I'm like, because he missed a routine baseball play.
Right.
Like he caught it behind his back because he was in a bad position.
Right.
But that's kind of part of the 2016 roster. Currently, I don't think I have a least favorite player now that Nick Madrigal's gone.
Yeah, that was probably going to be mine. I hated the Madrigal experiment. Terrible ball player.
Glad that he's gone. There's been a few others over the year. Carl Edwards Jr., not a big fan.
Yeah.
But I don't think I have the least favorite right now.
Madrigal would have been mine. I was like, that third base experiment did not work out well for him. Like, I'm glad he's gone. I was never huge on Bryant or Baez, personally.
Bryant never lived up to his potential. No. He had a great rookie season.
Phenomenal.
Played pretty well after that the next year or so, but then he just peaked. Like he just never got better.
Right.
And he's not any better with the Rockies.
No, he's not. No.
So wasn't big on Bryant, wasn't big on Baez. He had good instincts, but they only kicked in because he missed routine plays.
Right. So let's go a little deeper. Let's say, since we both grew up in about the same time frame, who is your favorite pitcher, say 2000 and later, for the Cubs? I'll go first.
All right.
Carlos Zambrano.
Oh yeah, there's a choice.
Love Big Z.
Yeah.
Obviously we've had several prior. Kerry Wood, Greg Maddux pitched for us. Obviously the current roster and the 2016 team, but Carlos Zambrano was my favorite. Like he was one mean son of a bitch. But when he got in a fight with his own catcher in the dugout, I loved it.
I mean, that's a great choice and an obvious choice.
Right.
Kerry Wood, I still remember his 20 strikeout game.
God.
That was awesome.
Yep.
For me, pitcher, and this is much later, I understand, but Jake Arrieta.
Oh, that Arrieta. Oh.
There has been so few players that I have just loved watching more than Jake Arrieta.
Yeah. And so during that time frame that we had Arrieta, I was making 5 or 6 Cubs games a season up at Wrigley.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite ones is we went to the Cubs versus the White Sox at Wrigley. We sat on the first base side, a little ways up in the shade. The game ended 1-0. Jake Arrieta pitched, hit the home run for the 1 run.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this guy's all of it.
Jake Arrieta was a cheat code back when the pitcher still batted.
Yeah.
It was amazing. You could count on him for a hit.
Yeah.
And
then we had to because you had one pitcher on our team who couldn't even bunt.
Lester? Yeah. John Lester was good at a lot of things, but he was not one of them.
Right. I mean, and we say that, but he would show up to our men's league softball on a Sunday and just destroy all of us. But,
still.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, love the Cubs talk. I think we're going to be doing this a lot as the season goes on.
I'd like to.
We're big diehard Cubs fans. Obviously, that's going to be one thing we're going to talk about throughout the summer and hopefully even into a Cubtober.
I hope so.
Would love to see it. Would love to get back to that winning at Wrigley thing, feeling again. Especially when now, if you're at a game, they flash the lights when you win.
Yeah.
And when they do the Go Cub to Go song, that's just freaking amazing. Being there in that atmosphere is children down your spine, hair back of your neck stands up. You're just excited,
And there's a lot of great ball fields in this country. I love the Great American Ballpark.
Oh, good one. Yeah. Fenway.
There's nothing like Wrigley.
No, there isn't.
I love Wrigley.
I mean, they call it the friendly confine for a reason.
Yeah.
Let's keep it going on. We're going to talk a little NFL now. Kyle, if you could pick one player for the Chicago Bears to draft this year, who would it be?
Well, I mean, the popular choice would be Ashton Genty. Everybody's talking about it, writing's on the wall. Would he be an electric player? Sure.
Yeah.
I want to go a different route because there's already been so much talked about that. And I know there's talk about offensive line too. But again, I tried to search for something outside a little bit. I think Shamar Stewart, Texas A&M defensive end.
Defensive end, yes.
Yep. We've got some help with Grady Jarrett this year.
That was a huge signing, by the way.
Oh, yeah. But I've said for a long time, the Bears struggle in the trenches, offensive and defensive. And I think having somebody opposite of Sweat on that defensive line would be huge.
Oh, 100%.
And, yeah, again, Genty would be good. But when you can get a Scatabo or somebody later in the draft, potentially,
right.
I don't know that you swing at running back at the 10th.
Do you really need a running back first round right now?
Not first round. And that's what I'm saying. I feel like with DeAndre Swift, you can do a running back by committee, and I think you'd be a lot better suited to be able to win in the trenches.
Yeah, plus, Cam Scatterbo is obviously got a lot of popularity late in the season with the college football playoffs. That dude is a dog.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah, and he's got the swagger to back it up.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
so I think that's great. You know, I think Watson out of North Carolina would be a solid choice. He'll probably be first round too, but I don't think you go running back with the first pick. I'd like to see, like I said, defensive line would be cool.
Yep. I don't think you need to go running back first pick. I think GT is probably going to be an NFL bust. I hate to say it, but we've seen a lot of good running back come out of college and not make it. Obviously, he did great against Oregon, but most of the other teams that he ran all over, I don't even know the name of them.
And to be fair, like, I'm a huge fan, and the reason that I grew up liking the Bears so much, huge fan of running the football and playing tough defense.
Toughness, yep.
But that's not the NFL we live in anymore.
Right, no, it isn't.
You know, and especially if they ban the tush push, which has helped Philadelphia be so, you know, prolific the last couple of years. It's not a running NFL anymore, and I don't see the point in dumping a ton of money into a running back unless it's a known player like Saquon Barkley that you know is going to fit that hole in your team.
Right, I agree with that. Trying to think of who it is, but I saw a clip over the weekend that there is a player that could probably stop the tush push.
Yes.
He's 464 pounds. I was trying to search it up, but I couldn't find it.
Peak male fitness. I think he played for University of Florida.
Yes.
He has a vertical. He's got a decent speed.
He's
he runs
fast.
a faster 40 than you and I.
Yeah.
You ain't running a tush push with him in the middle of the line.
That's what I'm saying. So I was trying to search his name, was struggling. I was trying to be discreet. Maybe I should have just done it. But, no, I saw this. I'm like, holy shit. Like, he's big. He's fast. He's got a vert. What the fuck, dude?
Yeah. Well, you asked me who should the Bears draft. Cowboys should draft this guy.
Yeah.
Because you're going to face the tush push twice a year, and you've got a high draft pick.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
So, what about you? So, Carolina Panthers is Devin's team. Sorry. Who would you like to see the Panthers draft?
so obviously, Carolina, I think, broke a record last season for the most points scored against them in a single season.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I want to go defense.
We got the highest paid cornerback in the league.
Well, so the thing is I can go with a lot of obvious choices, but one of my favorite ones I like to watch is Jalen Walker out of Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
I think he could be a sideline linebacker for us. I don't know that we need a lot of linebacker help, but I just remember when we drafted like Luke Keithley after we drafted Cam. It's like, oh, that's when we started a rebuild. That's when things started to go. So officially, we just drafted Bryce Young 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, so now we can get a linebacker and start working on our defense. I believe we overpaid J.C. Horn, so we need somebody young that can be in the linebacker trenches for a couple of years.
And I think it would be a good time to do it because that NFC South has a lot of youth on the offense of your rivals.
But
So bringing somebody in, and he's got big game experience being with Georgia.
Yep.
That would be really solid.
So I know a lot of people are saying that Carolina need to go defensive edge for a rusher because we traded Brian Burns away to the Giants last year. But you can have a good D line, but if you don't have anybody to cover the middle of the field, you're shot. Like a big linebacker goes everywhere. I mean,
well, and you have mobile quarterbacks in that division.
Right.
You've got Baker, you've got Michael Penix. Not so much Derek Carr, but let's be honest, he's not going to be there forever.
Right. And I can see the Saints drafting QB this year. So.
Right. Well, they've got Spencer Rattler, who's a little more mobile.
Yep.
So I think having that linebacker is a big thing for you.
Yeah. So that's what I'd like to see. There was a kid out of Boston College. I don't remember his name. The only reason I spoke into me is because I was like, oh, that's where Keithley came from. So maybe round 2 of Luke Keithley can be this new kid that we get from BC. I'd be great with that. Obviously, Carolina is a few parts removed from contending, I think. NFC South's going to be a little weaker than most divisions, so we have a chance that is there.
Right.
I would like to see the Arizona wide receiver, McMillan, I believe is his name. I think he'd be good. Obviously, Bryce Young really doesn't have anything to throw to.
Yeah, they really did him a disservice.
Yeah.
I mean, you brought in a young quarterback and then took away every offensive weapon he had.
Yeah, obviously McCaffrey's gone. traded DJ Moore to the Browns to get Bryce Young, and as well as like everything else the last couple of years. So
Yeah.
it'd be nice if the fucking Bears could do something with the shit that we gave you guys.
Yeah, no shit. That's weird. There's been such a connection between the Bears and the Panthers over time. I mean,
With the Olsen Peppers trade, right?
Olsen Peppers, Peanut Tillman went to the Panthers.
Yep, you know.
You guys sent us DJ Moore. I mean, it just seems like there's a connection there somewhere. So,
Well, it'd be nice if we're gonna help each other out, one of us would get a Super Bowl out of it.
no shit.
So, but yeah, no, that's one team I'd like to see. Like, get some. I honestly don't know where to go with it. I'd like to see Scatterborough to the Carolina. I'm with you. Love the hard nose running football.
Yeah.
Like, that's just always fun to watch. So let's talk a little bit, kind of NBA, more college.
Yeah, we don't talk a lot about NBA.
So, is Caleb Love NBA ready?
So this is the perfect time to talk about it
Yes.
because he had a really good offensive game against Duke in the national spotlight.
Oh, huge game.
And a year ago, he played for North Carolina for several years. The discussion last year was there's no way this guy makes the NBA.
But
Has he done enough to put himself on the radar?
obviously the league's changed with the way people like scoring. Okay, so he dropped 35 against Duke in a
Yeah.
game they lost.
Right.
So a lot of people are like, oh yeah, he can score, But what did you point out before?
He was labeled as a chucker. So
Exactly.
he throws a lot of baskets up, but his shooting efficiency is terrible.
Yeah, yep.
And the other thing is he scored 35 points, but in a game against Duke where you're the underdog, you've got to have a perfect game. You have to be the leader in that position. And a lot of people said he was the leader of the team. He had 1 rebound and 1 assist.
Right, yeah.
And he's a big guy.
Yeah.
He's in a position that he can get more offensive boards.
Right.
And when you're playing somebody like Duke and Cooper Flag and the players that they have, you've got to do more than score points.
Oh, you do. And that's one thing I think, like, the guys that transition well to the NBA have all the stats.
Right.
They have triple-doubles or double-doubles just about every night.
Yeah.
And Caleb Love could not do it at the biggest time he needed to.
Right.
That 35 points is great, but when you're force-fed like he was, you should have 35 points.
Yeah, you're not throwing dimes to your teammates.
Right.
You're not getting the offensive boards. I mean, what do you help? Are you playing defense? Is he
Yeah.
a two-way player, or is this just somebody that comes off the bench and
Right.
gets you a few points and goes back out?
Exactly. And, I'm not trying to hate on a young kid, but I don't see the draft getting him. I don't see it. He's going to go undrafted, sign some summer league deal somewhere, and have to work his way up.
Yeah, G League. He might play really well in China.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that he's going to get attention.
But
I don't think he's getting drafted.
no, I mean, and the NBA now is a little different with the way they do things. I mean, basketball isn't played like it was in the 90s, early 2000s. The defense doesn't matter as much anymore because, we just want to see a game that's 130 to 120.
Right.
He could fit that bill.
He could.
Obviously, he dropped 35 against Duke and lost and doesn't seem to care too much. I didn't watch very many post-game interviews on him, but it seemed to be like he was like, oh, well, I did my part. I scored 35.
Right.
It's like, meh. Well, okay, maybe you will survive in the NBA because that seems to be the only thing they care about.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Everybody talked about him being a leader during that game and everything, but, again, 35, 1-1, I don't see that as leader stats.
Yeah, totally agree. Guess we'll watch and see what happens, but let's wrap it up for sports and let's move on to
GTR.
the GTR. What do we got? Oh, interesting conversation here. So Kyle sent me a text message a few weeks back, and we've been trying to figure out how to stream this into the segment here. And kind of like the most hated movie character.
Yeah, and I've seen some of this stuff trending here recently. But it's a good point. I mean, you watch a movie and some people are designed to hate, and she's designed to hate, all right? And she's got a lot of attention, but fuck Jenny. Everybody else did.
Forrest Gump Jenny.
So, yeah, from Forrest Gump, I mean, and I get it. I get that she was written to be the contrast of Forrest Gump. He's adorable, he's simple, good things happen to him, and Jenny's this terrible person. But, man, from the first time they meet, they sit on the bus, and she's so nice. You can sit next to me, and then she looks at him and says, "Are you stupid or something?"
Yeah.
Like, you don't know any manners. you know.
You know. So what time frame of this movie had been set at? I'm trying to think here.
I think it was like Vietnam, wasn't it?
So that'd have been he went to Vietnam.
Yeah, he did. Right.
So when was that? 60s?
Yeah.
So this is the 50s. So things were like this back then. Like people said that, "Are you stupid or something?" Like that was a thing.
That's true.
You know.
And the other part of this is like, he did, even though he was, we'll say, simple, to keep things PC. But he still had some great qualities. Like, twice he physically defended Jenny. Once
That's
with
true.
the guys on stage, once with the abusive boyfriend, and both times she got pissed at him and went back with the abusive people.
Yep.
And Jenny, he just wanted her attention.
Yeah.
I
mean, he named his boats after her.
Right. And then at a time when they really could have worked it out after she'd gone around and slept with half the country and done drugs and done her things, his mom dies and she comes back and it's like, oh, they're going to rekindle things, and they hook up and she leaves again.
Right.
Which to me, this is where it gets unexcusable, right? Because I get that Jenny was sexually abused. It was implied she was abused as a child, and I understand that.
Right.
But at this point in the movie, we can stop excusing Jenny's behavior.
Well, because, they're in their 20s or whatever. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, and at this point, that one night stand, not only does she finally show Forrest the love that he's wanted all along, she goes away for 5 more years and comes back when she's dying of AIDS. Oh, you've got a kid.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to die, you've got money now, because he had been rich at this time.
Yep.
Here's your kid that you don't know about.
Yeah, no, I agree. Super hated character, designed obviously to be a super hated character, and obviously there's gonna be people. Oh well, her childhood, and it's like bullshit. Like,
yeah.
So you were sexually abused. Now you just want to sleep with everybody. Like, come on, like help Forrest out.
And it's not, like I said, is she a bad person? I don't know. You can debate that. But
Right.
you don't have to be a bad person to do bad things.
Right.
And she did some bad things to Forrest.
I agree with that.
So, overall, life is like a box of chocolates, and she's the fucking raspberry nougat that nobody wants. Right? Like, she's the part of the chocolate that you're afraid to get.
I want to put a little twist on this. So one of the biggest topics I like to talk about is Forrest Gump and Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Could anybody else play Forrest Gump? Any other actor?
So,
I personally said no. Tom Hanks killed it. I don't think anybody else could do it.
right. So, if there was anybody close, and I'm just thinking that I saw the movie Sling Blade,
Okay.
he did a pretty good job with that, but it's not the same character, so I don't think so. I think Tom Hanks is the only one that can do it.
Yeah, I agree. Like the voiceovers he does, obviously the acting of it, he crushed it.
Oh yeah, and it's such a, and I think that's one of the reasons that Jenny is so hated, is because Forrest Gump's character was so loved.
Right.
So yeah, I think he nailed it. But we don't want to just talk about Jenny. So who's another hated movie character?
So I did some research to see if I could come up with anybody else, and obviously you pointed it out, my wife pointed it out, Facebook, all my Google researchers. The next most hated one, and probably actually the most hated one, is Grandpa Joe in Willy Wonka.
Grandpa Joe.
So Grandpa Joe, who is bedridden and can't do anything,
Complete invalid.
starves his family, blah blah blah. We get a golden ticket. And Grandpa Joe can walk.
He not only walks, he jumps up, he clicks his heels together, he's ready to go.
And that just pisses me off. And honestly, I haven't watched that movie probably since I was like 12.
Right.
I don't really care for it. But, I had to go back and watch some of this so I could talk about it. I'm like, Jesus. Like, I see what people are saying now. Like, this guy just basically bullies his family.
Mm-hmm.
And his grandson or nephew goes and gets this winning ticket, and he takes it from him.
Yeah, the cure for his illness was money.
Yeah.
And even when they're in the chocolate factory, I again today, knowing that we were going to talk about this, I kind of looked over some different parts of the movie, and I forgot just how much of an asshole this guy is.
Yeah.
Like when they're in the chocolate factory, he's encouraging Charlie to do stupid shit. Like when they drink the elixir and they almost get killed by the fan blades.
Yeah.
Like, as a parent, are you encouraging your kid to do that?
Yeah.
You know. And then near the end, I think they've got this everlasting gobstopper that Wonka shows them.
Right.
You know, future of the company. And Grandpa Joe legit tells Charlie, hey, we can sell this to the competing company for more money. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Right, yeah.
You know? So, yeah, Grandpa Joe's an asshole.
Yeah, Grandpa Joe's an asshole. Don't be like him. Don't be that guy. Yeah.
Jenny and Grandpa Joe deserve each other.
Yep. Oh, yeah. You both can die of AIDS now. Have fun. So, all right, moving on. So this is another interesting topic to add. Is we have local elections coming up on Tuesday, which I think is kind of nationally. You know, you got the mayors, aldermen, park board members are on the ballot, and basically what I wanted to say about this is obviously we're a small town of 3,000 people, and I have almost everybody in town on Facebook. The amount of people I have seen complaining that nobody from our town is campaigning for their election. Well, first off, if you look at the ballot, they are all running unopposed.
Right.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
So, do they need to campaign?
Yeah, what do you campaign when there's nobody running against you? And I think this is just another one of those things, and it's small town USA. It's not just us, but I'm sure there's people watching from other small towns that can relate. People want to bitch about the people that are running, but nobody wants to suggest another option.
Exactly.
Or, God forbid, run themselves.
Right.
You know,
yeah, 100%.
I mean, you're on the ballot this year for the park board.
Right.
I think I was on the ballot 2 years ago.
Yep.
We don't have any government experience.
Yeah.
We're just two guys trying to help out.
Right.
What's stopping somebody else from doing that?
Yeah. And that's my thing is like, so, well, he had to come and told me his policies. I'm like, he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
If he gets one vote, he's in.
Right.
And obviously small town, like, I know a lot of people say, well, good old boys club, you know, we need to get rid of that and all that good stuff, and that's fine, but how are you going to do it with nobody running against you?
Right. And I think that's the other side of things too, is like if you are in this small town or even a big town,
Right.
you know, and you're looking at the ballot for these local elections in the next week or so, don't vote for somebody just because he's your friend.
Right.
Like it or she, you know, if he or she is not going to do a good job in the office, it's okay not to vote for him. It's anonymous.
Right.
You know,
Right.
if you were running against somebody and I didn't think you'd do a good job for a position, I could vote against you, and that doesn't change our friendship.
Right, no.
You know?
Honestly, a lot of people this day and age probably take that personal. I don't. Like, you're allowed to have your beliefs. I'm allowed to have mine. At the end of the day, we're not going to, like, ruin our friendship over what we believe. You
Right.
know? So, yeah, just local elections coming up. Make sure we're doing your due diligence and voting. If you're somebody who likes to complain, you should vote, at least at the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
But that leads me into what I really wanted to talk about. So obviously we have a business in town. I'm not going to name anybody's names in this because I don't want to steal shit. But we have a business in town who recently got $5 million of state grant money.
Mm-hmm.
And they're redoing their offices for their workers, and I noticed there were people from out of state doing some of the work.
Right.
And that doesn't sit well with me. Like, you got state grant money or whatever to help build your business up and fix some things that needed fixed, and then you outsource it to...
Out of state.
And I'm going to say these people are like 7 hours away. I know where they're from. It's a 7-hour drive.
Yeah, way out of state.
Like, I mean, you're talking... I mean, we're an hour from Iowa, an hour and a half, 2 hours from Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't even go there. Like,
Right.
you went way farther. What's your thought process on this? Like, do you believe that that money should have went back to local contractors and the economy?
Yeah, and I do think so. I mean, this is state money
Right.
that's granted to you to help your community. It can further help your community. Like, let's say the park, all right? If we were going to use this grant money for a playground, not only can it benefit the park itself and the community by having a new playground, but if you do that, if you give that to a local contractor to at least do some of the work, it also benefits your community because you're keeping the money in the community.
Right.
You know, everybody benefits. You do the most good with this money.
Yep.
And this came up last week, actually, in a different way. I was on a field trip with my kid, and I was in a town close to here, and they have a playground that is phenomenal. It's amazing for a town in this area. And I looked on the plaque, and the company from New York made it. And I was like, yeah. And I actually, full disclosure, I looked into this more, and I ended up contacting the company because even though the company oversees it in New York, they hired local contractors to do the work. They give them the design plans, they pay the local contractors to do the work. And I thought, that I'm okay with.
No.
You know, some of this money, some of this business is going out of state, but that out of state place is using local contractors to live up to standards and all this.
And you're saying this is a business.
Correct.
So that's a different to me, because like this business can spend their money wherever they want.
Right.
Taxpayers pay into the state grants. So that's kind of my thought on that. But no, awesome. Great job on following up on that. Hopefully we can get something done at our park. You know?
That would be cool.
I mean, our playground is got to be 38. No, not quite that. 30 years old probably.
A lot of it's pretty old. I can remember being a kid and helping shovel mulch into it.
Right.
So, and I can remember when the new playground equipment came in. So
Well, probably 20 years anyway, 25. So, yeah, I mean.
We're sorry. We're experiencing technical difficulties again.
Sorry about that. Some more technical difficulties. We're still learning. Obviously, the thing we're using to record can only go to an hour, and we went over our hour for the first time.
We've never gone over an hour, so now we know.
Makes me realize that we need to speed this up a little bit for the next couple of segments, which is fine. What we're going to get into. What were they thinking?
Yeah. And I think, you know, these are two topics that you brought up. In recent episodes, actually, every episode we've been kind of controversial on this section. And I'm not going to shy away from that. I think that some of those topics were great. I don't regret talking about them. But you thought, and I agree, it would be nice to talk about some things that are less controversial.
Yep.
So yeah, this first topic you brought up.
So as noted earlier in the episode, I went to a coaching clinic for the whole state of Illinois over the weekend down to Champaign. And so where we're at, we play 8-man football. And basically, the classes are developed on school size. Mm-hmm. Okay, so 8-man is the lowest of the low. Like, there's nothing lower than us. And then you have 1A, which is what Bushman used to be, 2A, 3A, 4A, all the way up to 8A in the state of Illinois. So 1A is one student through 300.
Right.
Okay. 2A is 301 to 700. 2A. Right. All right. 8-man, who's supposed to be lower than that because we don't have the numbers, there's now 325 students.
Right.
Bushnell, who I coach for, who you have kids in, has 170.
Right.
So you're telling me that school almost double our size can play us?
Pretty damn close.
Like, that's ridiculous. So, for example on this, and I'm not trying to dog anybody that's already an 8-man, like, I don't really want to do that. I did say some stuff to some of the coaches we play against while I was down there. But anyway, we finished our season last year with 17 kids on the final game. 3 or 4 of those guys were banged up and only could play a little bit.
Right.
We had to start, I think, we started 2 or 3 freshmen at the end of the year. And we played Amboy, who were back-to-back state champs, who, before they came to 8-man, made the playoffs at 1A, they just got the shit beat out of them.
Gotcha.
So they're like, oh, we went 6-4 and got our asses kicked. Let's go beat up somebody else. Pussies. That's bullshit. But whatever, you know. Amboy's, I mean, they're good. They have class, so not a whole big deal. But my thought is like, they had like 60 or 50 to 60 kids on their roster.
Yeah.
Their JV squad is bigger than our whole entire squad through 4 classes. Why are you playing us?
Yeah.
So meanwhile, not only that, but we have to drive, 2 hours and 45 minutes or something to get the dog shit kicked out of us.
Right.
Like, why are we doing this to these kids?
Yeah, and it kind of ruins the idea because I remember when Bushnell went to 8-man football, it was fairly recent. But the whole reason for a lot of these teams doing 8-man football is because they're smaller schools. They don't have the roster size to get to 2A, and honestly, maybe not even compete with 1A.
Right.
But because of this class size, 1 to 325, you have a potential 2A student or a 2A program that wants to be like, well, we go 8-man, we can kick the shit out of some schools, and I don't like it. I don't know the solution. I don't know if there's a situation where you break down 8-man football further and you have like 1A, 2A of 8-man,
Right.
And you make that cutoff 200,
Right.
0 to 200 is this class, 200 to 400 is the
Right.
second class.
Well, you may be able to do that in the future. As of right now, I believe there's only like 30 to 35 teams in the state.
Right, there's not
doing
enough.
8-man. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to put them all in one. That you just have to. You can't break that up. Like, nobody wants to be state champs over 16 teams.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I won state. I'm going to play 16 teams. Like, you don't want that. But at the same time, how are we going to walk the schools of our high school and be like, hey, come play football so you can get beat on by these teams that are twice our size?
Right.
And it's not even the players that are twice our sizes. We got kids last year who had to play offense, defense, and everything at special teams.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not getting a break. And they're coach, I'm gas, pull me out. It's like, bro, we have nobody to put in.
Yeah, who are we going to put in?
You want me to suit up? Because that's the next option,
Yeah.
And it sucks because, like, we want to recruit kids to come play for us, and we got a lot of kids that probably would if it was more fair.
Right. Well, and it not only hurts that, but it makes everybody's job harder. Like, these small programs thrive on admissions and concession
Right.
stands and boosters and things like that. And for me, and you too, obviously you coached, but if you didn't, Friday night lights are great. You want to go watch the high school team. You want to go support the local
Right.
team. I would go regardless of what your record is.
Right.
But a lot of people won't.
Right, exactly.
And if you know that a bigger school is going to come down with 3 times the roster and kick the shit out of you, people may not come to that game.
Right.
And that hurts you guys. It hurts you as coaches because there's a lot of, I'm going to be honest, ignorant people in the community
Right.
that are going to look at you getting your ass kicked by a bigger school with a bigger roster and say, that's on the coaches.
Right.
The coaches need to coach better. What are you doing wrong?
Right.
That's nothing I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
And
that's another thing I'll bring up. Like, we're going into this next season with potentially one senior.
Yeah.
One senior. Hey, and that's the case through Bushman sports and a lot of different. Baseball doing it this year. Girls basketball did it. What are we supposed to coach on that? Like,
have you tried to look into the transfer portal?
we got some NIL money, baby. Come on over.
Some kid from Chicago shipped down here for your program.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's just something I want to bring up. Another thing is they're trying to find a way to expand high school playoffs in the state of Illinois. And my thought process with this is like, football is like the only sport that the playoffs actually mean something.
Yeah.
I mean, you win a state title, it means something, but just making the playoffs means something.
Right.
Because in basketball and baseball, track, everybody makes regionals. Everybody makes, if you have a qualifying time, you make it, Football is one that's like, you guys sucked. You didn't have the record. You were in. Well, now with the playoff points and what they're trying to propose, somebody with a potential 2-7 record with enough playoff points can make the playoffs.
Yeah.
You're a losing team. You don't deserve the playoffs.
It shouldn't be in the playoffs.
Honestly, 2 years ago, we made it with a 4-5 record because of our playoff points.
Right.
And we drove to Champaign to St. Thomas More and actually put up a pretty decent fight as far as game. I mean, we went in as a 16 seed and played the 1. And we had the closest game of the first round, So, yeah, I think we did our job. We went in there. We tried to give it everything we got. But, we also went in with a losing record, 4-5. 4-5 in 9 games, whatever. 2-7, not a chance.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think there's a couple of ways to look at this. It does, I don't want to say diminish, but slightly tarnish a team making the playoffs. Because,
100%.
Well, that team did too. But I think this is just more of what we've hit on so many times with where society is at. in the Society of Participation trophies, and well, your kid doesn't get a lot of playing time, so now we got to make sure everybody plays the same amount and all this shit. It's just trying to be inclusive.
Right.
Like, well, this town doesn't make the playoffs, and we don't want the kids to be upset, so we're going to let them in. So you're going to let this 2-7 team in that's probably the bottom seed. They're going to play the number 1 seed, and they're going to get their ass kicked.
Right.
Did you do them any favors there?
Right. And you probably have to drive 2 hours to do it.
Right.
So you're spending school resources, school funds to. I just don't see it. I don't see why it's good. The competitor in me hates it. Absolutely freaking hates it.
Big fan of it when it was college football,
Yeah.
because these teams that you're letting in are competitive.
Right.
You let in potential that Cinderella. All the teams are competitive. At this level in Illinois,
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
You're not letting in competitors. You're just letting in more teams.
Yeah. So what were they thinking? Obviously, the IHSA board gets a lot of scrutiny through a lot of things they do in this state. This is probably going to be one of them. What are you doing? What are you thinking? What's the thought process of trying to make the participation trophy bigger? Right. That's really how I feel about it. Like you said, everybody's already, oh well, little Johnny needs everything. It's not like that in the real world. So why don't we step them up and start training that now?
Yeah, you can label them a playoff team, but that still doesn't mean they're
right. Yeah. So. Well, that does it for this episode. Episode drops on Wednesday.
Yep. Every Wednesday, brand new episodes. You can find the episodes on YouTube, Facebook. We're also on TikTok. Still exploring other ideas on how to reach you guys, but we're here and we appreciate all the followers that we have.
Yeah. Follow us on all socials, and until next time,
it's garage time.